Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your boy Apophis here. Welcome back to a brand new video upload on Apophis Taking Reviews. We are currently on the way to 2,000 subscribers, and ladies and gentlemen, I can't thank you enough for the support. The last couple of weeks, it's been blowing up, and I'm so grateful. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm trying to get to 2,000 subscribers before the end of 2024. If you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing. It means more than you know. So, to all those returning subscribers, welcome back to my channel. To all those who are new, my name is Liam, also known as Apophis, and I do technology reviews, watch reviews, and of course, luxury item reviews, and give you my honest opinion about all the things I buy below. Today's video is gonna be a bit different when it comes to review. Today I'm gonna review the world of audio, or talk about the world of audio, a world that I've been very passionate about for many decades, for many years. Well, I wouldn't say decades because I'm only 22, but still, I've been passionate about audio for many years, and today I wanna give you a little bit more of an insight into this beautiful world and talk about the different types of things. So the first video, or today's video, is gonna be about all the types of listening equipment. The second video is gonna be about amplifiers, receivers, and of course DACs and speakers. Then the third installment on the series is gonna be about vinyl and turntables, and of course the last installment, or the fourth installment in the series, is gonna be about microphones and cable management. So I hope after I finish recording this series that you have a better understanding and a deeper appreciation of everything that has to do with sound. And without further ado, let's get into today's video. Whoosh! Alright, so let's talk about my experience in the world of audio. So besides me being an audiophile and very passionate about everything that has to do with audio, from headphones to speakers to turntables to cables and microphones, I also have a bit of experience in the sales department of audio products. I have been an audio expert at Fnac in Leuven for almost a year, selling headphones, selling receivers, selling speakers, and kind of learning on the way about the different types of products, the different types of drivers, the different types of materials, and how effectively all these types of things and terms combine this beautiful world that we call art. Now, of course, from artist, creator to the listener, there's so many different things that makes this world so special, and therefore you cannot just classify any type of audio product that exists in the world under one term: quality. So before we talk about the actual different types of listening equipment, there are 6 different types of listening equipment. I'm gonna talk a bit about a couple terms that you need to know that I'll be using to describe each category, their advantages, their disadvantages, and these terms are very widely used when talking about a certain product, and they're very important. So stay tuned and listen to the first one, and that's build. Alright, so the first term is build, and when I'm referring to the build of a certain audio product, whether it be headphones, earbuds, wireless buds, whatever you want to buy in the world of high fidelity, we're talking about the overall engineering of a certain type of piece and not talking about the materials. I see so many people selling products like this and talking, yeah, the headphone is greatly built because of that material and that material and that material. Honestly, that's the second part. That's the second term I'm going to talk about. Materials are not the first thing you need to talk about when referring to the overall build of a headphone. I'm going to take this Batiste, for example. When I talk about build, I'm talking about, ladies and gentlemen, the cushions are thicker for a better comfort, for longer listening sessions, and of course studio sessions. The cups are bigger for better acoustics. The driver units are tilted in a 45-degree angle. They're M-dome shaped, so slightly tilted inwards for a better overall immersive experience for the drivers. Of course, the headband itself tapers inwards much better because these are quite heavy headphones and makes them not fall off your head when using them in a professional or public environment. Then of course the clamp force itself is very present, and the reason why the clamp force is above average, reason why for better seal on the headphones, which means no audio leakage or little audio leakage. Remember that these of course are high fidelity headphones. Besides the wireless the wireless capabilities, they still mostly are used with its USB DAC mode. And then we're talking, of course, about the overall engineering and why things are on this type of headphone like they are. But I can talk about this with many different other brands. It doesn't really matter. So usually when people refer to the build of an actual pair of audio equipment, they're talking about the overall engineering and not about the materials. Usually when salespeople talk about the materials as the build, walk away, they don't know shit about audio. Alright, so after you consider the overall build of your headphone and you're fixed at a certain headphone, now you can talk about build materials. So, for example, I'm gonna take this Batiste again, which is one of my most high-end headphones that I own. Now I'm gonna talk about the materials that make it stand out in terms of the competition. So the first thing to notice is that the Batiste have 40mm M-dome shaped aluminum magnesium driver units. Aluminum and magnesium together makes an excellent alloy for warm tonalities and rich tonalities. It will make sure that, of course, your your headphone will sound a bit more warmer and a bit more spacious and a bit more immersive. Of course, they still have those clarity tones like titanium drivers, but of course, titanium is a bit stiffer than magnesium and will make sure that, of course, you have that excellent clarity. For example, Bang & Olufsen uses titanium drivers in their H95 and their H100 series, and of course, Bang & Olufsen is really focused on that clarity sound signature. So for them, it was a logic or more logic material to use than, of course, aluminum magnesium. Still, aluminum magnesium or the titanium drivers are very sturdy and will last you many times or many years, even used at higher volumes. Of course, that's when we're talking about the driver units. You also have materials like solid magnesium and solid beryllium, and they all each have different tonality qualities, and each material is quite unique. And that's why so many audiophiles and people like me buy many different type of headphones, because every single headphone is unique in their own way, or every single earbud is unique in their own way. So that's talking about the drivers. Of course, the frame itself of the headphone is aluminum. The hinges are made of aluminum, which makes it very sturdy and, of course, makes it feel much more luxurious. The handbed itself on the hinges at the end are magnesium. The cup shells are also solid magnesium for that luxurious feel. Magnesium is 4 times stronger than aluminum. Now, of course, if you would use a full magnesium frame, it would be quite more expensive, so that's why they opted for aluminum instead of magnesium. But yeah, the cups itself are inlaid in magnesium, and they have that beautiful spider design. Reason why, because this is a reference to their open-backed designs from Focal. Then, of course, the headband itself is topped with lambskin leather. We have a suede cushion with memory foam inside. Suede, of course, makes sure that it's more sweat resistant than leather, and of course, for longer periods of sessions or movement, it won't glide down, so it's extra security. The ear pads are full sheepskin leather. Sheepskin leather is very flexible and very soft, and of course, with the memory foam pads inside of them, they give an excellent seal, which delays or which allows not much audio to come out of them. Know that these, of course, are very high fidelity headphones, just like, of course, the Mark 11's 5909, or for example, the Bang & Olufsen H100. They do have a little bit of sound leakage when you use them at 80% volume or more. But yeah, all these materials make for a very interesting soundstage and a very immersive experience, or very immersive listening experience. So see, now that I talked about the build materials, they can reflect overall engineering of the headphone and compare the materials that they use, and now they can make a decision if it's worth the certain price tag or not. Alright, so one thing I wanted to add before we get into the third term, and that is, of course, the driver units themselves. I wanted to say that there is an harmonious connection between, of course, the builds, the overall engineering of a pair of headphones or earbuds, and of course the build materials used. You can have the most fancy materials on the planet on the outside, but if your inside materials for the driver units and acoustic performances are shit, your headphone will still underperform whether you want it or not. For example, one of these examples are, of course, the AirPods Max and, of course, the Dyson On Track. They're fully solid aluminum headphones with, of course, a very luxurious design, memory foam cushions, magnetic removable cushions, but the driver units are made from cheaper materials, which make them sound underperforming in terms of audio accuracy and in terms of naturalness. So considering that, both materials and both the engineering of the pair of headphones need to be in the same harmonious connection before you can call it world-leading audio or high-fidelity headphones, of course. So keep that in mind when buying headphones. Alright, so let's discuss driver units. So that's the third term. The driver units are basically your heart of your audio product. Without your driver units, it's just an empty engineered shell, and it won't, well, of course, play anything of sound or music or whatever. Sorry, pardon. So The first driver unit is the dynamic driver unit, and they're usually found on cheaper headphones, ranging all the way from 30 euros all the way to 1,000. Not saying that 1,000 euros is not cheap, that is cheap for a pair of headphones. It's still, for most 99% of the population, it's expensive. But in comparison to what's out there in the world and what type of driver technology you can actually get when able to spend a much more or bigger budget, yeah, I would call it cheap. So same thing with these Batiste, for example. The size of these dynamic driver units are 40 millimeters, so that's on the bigger side, but of course it's still a dynamic driver unit. Of course, the reason why they use it is because this is like I said, a wired headphone, but also a wireless headphone, and wireless headphones can just work a lot better with the software technology and dynamic driver unit setup than, of course, a planar magnetic driver unit, of course, or a electrostatic driver unit. Plus, it would be way too costly to put this into an affordable type of headphone. Depend on what you would call affordable, of course. But yeah, those are the dynamic driver units. You find them anywhere from 30 euro headphones to, of course, 1,000. Alright, so the second driver technology I want to talk about are the balanced armatures. Balanced armatures are the smallest driver technology available on the market as of right now. They're usually found in IEMs. IEMs can range from all the way to 40, 45, all the way to 10 grand. And these are those little made-to-order 3D printed to your ear size little earbuds you see wired down on live stage performances. The balanced armature usually is used in a dynamic driver hybrid setup, which means that, of course, in the IEM or in-ear monitor, as we call them, the driver setup is individually tuned to the artist, and each driver unit, the dynamic driver unit and of course the balanced armature, can be tuned individually to produce certain frequencies, which makes them ideal for live stage performances and for, of course, studio performances with subtle detail. Let's talk about the third driver unit, and those are the planar magnetic drivers. What is a planar magnetic driver? It's basically a thin diaphragm made out of any type of material, and together with a magnetic field, it produces sound. And what the advantages are with a planar magnetic driver and why you find them in the world's most high-end headphones usually is because they can accurately represent or reproduce music or sounds without sounding too bloated or, of course, too distortion, especially when used at higher volumes. The only downside with, of course, the planar magnetic drivers is that they do require additional power. So usually a headphone amp or dedicated headphone amplifier is required in order for these headphones to truly function and truly come to life, which makes them very expensive in general, because a decent headphone amplifier and one of those type of headphones can easily set you back 3,000 to 6,000 euros. So the fourth and most expensive driver units produced are the electrostatic drivers. They're usually found on the world's most high-end headphones, easily exceeding 10 grand and more. They're very high-end to produce and more expensive than, of course, the planar magnetic driver units. And just like the planar magnetic driver units, they do require additional power to be able to function correctly and reproduce the best sound quality. So how does it work? Basically, two thin diaphragms sandwiched between two conductive plates that produce sound. They do extremely well when it comes to, of course, high-end production, and every single of course, frequency can be produced in a more accurate way. So like I said, usually found on the world's most expensive headphones and cannot function with, of course, a decent headphone amplifier. When I'm talking about a decent headphone amplifier, I'm talking about at least 3,000 or more. Alright, so the fifth and last driver unit built into certain audio equipment is, of course, the hybrid driver unit. I already talked a bit about this with my balanced armature introduction. So the hybrid driver units are basically a dynamic driver unit and usually a balanced armature combined to individually be able to tweak different types of frequencies, and are the most idealistic for accurate sound reproduction on stage in, of course, very small form factors. So the hybrid dynamic driver units are mostly found in IEMs, but some headphones headphones do use a hybrid driver unit setup as well, so it doesn't always apply only to IEMs. Now remember that these are just all the different types of driver units. Just because you have a superior technology available doesn't mean that the driver unit will be better than, of course, any other. It's just all about, of course, the engineering that goes behind the driver unit, the type of materials, the acoustic engineering of the shell. So like I said, there is a very big tendency coming back. Every single thing hangs within each other, and all these things need to work together in order to create the most world-class leading headphones. You cannot have one without the other. So just because you, for example, have a planar magnetic driver unit inside of your headphone, but they are made, for example, with carbon fiber or copper, yeah, it's gonna sound way different than, of course, that it will be made with magnesium or, of course, beryllium. So saying things, and of course it depends on how the driver unit is formed and stuff like that, how big the size is, and of course there are a lot of roles that influence the overall performance of a driver unit. So those are the 5 driver units available, of course, excluding, of course, the build materials that they might use for making them. Third term we're going to talk about is, of course, the software, and now I'm talking only about, of course, the wireless game, whether it be earbuds, of course, or wireless headphones, no matter in which price tag. A lot of wireless headphones require heavily on software equalization, audio staging from the brand, and of course, the more advanced the software is on the headphone, the more features you will get, and the more overall, or the better the overall hardware that the audio equipment is made of will function and can be tailored to your own desire and liking, from noise cancelling all the way to battery life, all the way to power efficiency, and all the way to different features like, for example, DAC and stuff like that. The DAC is a digital to analog converter, which allows digital signals from a computer, laptop, tablet, or phone to be directly converted into analog signal without any loss of bitrate or, of course, audio frequency, which gives, of course, a better overall sound performance of your headphone. But these are, of course, not only hardware related things, but also software controlled things. So yeah, just like I said, it really is more of a thing that's very important with, of course, wireless listening type of experiences. Usually wired pair of headphones don't really rely heavily on software. You can download, of course, software to enhance the sound experience, but usually all the things you need to control in order to make your wired headphones sound better are through, of course, your amplifier, your headphone amplifier, or right through the equalization on, of course, your laptop, etc. So wired headphones don't really require a software built in order to function. A Bluetooth chip, for example, is also driven by software to, for example, get little or no delay. For example, aptX is one of those codecs, which is a digital codec. LDAC is a digital codecs. AAC, SBC, same thing. So these are the different formats of codecs that, you know, enhance or lowers the overall sound performance of your pair of headphones. So yeah, software is very important when it comes to wireless game. Now we are talking about the 2 last terms, and those are impedance and, of course, frequency response. Frequency response really tells you about the overall frequency the Terra headphone has. Usually headphones, earbuds function between a frequency response of 20 hertz all the way to 20 kilohertz, which is, of course, the bare minimum of the human hearing. Some more high-end options, like, for example, the Batis or studio headphones, have any frequency response ranging all the way from 15 hertz or 10 hertz all the way to 40 kilohertz. Now, of course, like I said, the human hearing can only hear to 20 kilohertz, so what's the point, right? You're probably wondering. Well, the higher the frequency response that the headphone can generate, the more accurate the headphone drivers will be able to generate certain types of frequencies. So it doesn't really matter if you cannot be able or will not be able to hear those 40 kilohertz. The headphone will still be able to reproduce higher details and higher sound efficiency to make that sound more natural and more realistic as sound as intended. So yeah, that's very important. And of course, impedance is measured in ohms, and it basically tells you about the electrical resistance of the driver units and how much power the pair of headphones actually need in order to function correctly. So that really well, it's more like talking about the driver units in general and how much electrical resistance the driver units generate and how much power they need in order to function properly. So usually headphones on the cheaper end, like the Batiste, like any type of headphone below 1,000, usually sit between 16 ohms and 32 ohms, sometimes even a bit higher. For example, with the Bang & Olufsen H95, 32 ohms. With the Focal Batiste, we have 35 ohms, and anything from Focal usually 32 or higher. And then of course the high fidelity wired headphones like the Celeste, like the Clear MG, or like, for example, brands from headphones from Audis, Hi-Fi Man, Newman, usually sit well above that 32 ohms. It's basically how much power the para headphone needs, or the power the driver units need in order to function properly. We're going to talk about, before we get into the actual 6 different type of listening equipment, we're going to talk about the sensitivity of a certain product, which means actually it's measured in decibels, and it basically means the absolute volume of a certain product. The higher the sensitivity, the better the headphone, or the louder the headphone will sound at lower volume. So for example, it starts all the way from 90 decibels all the way to over 110 decibels on the more expensive side. So what does it actually mean? So for example, 104 decibels, which is on the Batiste, the sensitivity on the Batiste, means that of course the Batiste doesn't require a lot of power in order to play very loud and in order to reproduce certain type of frequencies and certain type of details. Now the lower the frequency response, so under 100, means that the source needs a lot of volume power, or a lot of power to drive to the headphones in order to play the same different on the same different volume and on the same different details. So that's kind of the sensitivity for you. Okay, so now that we got all those terms out of the way, let's start from the bottom of the list, and we have normal earbuds. Normal earbuds are usually very attainable, very cheap, and are, well, very good to go on the go when you forgot your very expensive listening equipment. Earbuds can range all the way from 30 bucks to 120, exceeding at a maximum of like 200, I believe. These are normal earbuds, right? I'm not talking about IEMs. So usually they have very thin driver units, and usually are very cheaply made. They have a lot of durability issues, so in the longer term they're not ideal for a bigger lifespan. They're usually given for free, or you buy them for a quick listening session if you forgot, of course, your wireless earbuds or wireless headphones, or don't want to walk with a big casket on your head, of course. But wired earbuds are basically the lowest of the lowest, and are usually a temporary option to listen to music, or for people who don't want to spend or can't spend a lot of money on their audio equipment. So the second type of listening, moving up into the ladder, is of course the wireless earbuds. Although very convenient, usually very good battery life, decent sound quality, and decent prices. These days you can find good earbuds ranging all the way from 150 to 250 euros, and you get a very decent sound stage with, of course, things like aptX low latency or LDAC support, SBC AAC codecs as well included, and especially when you run these earbuds with, of course, high fidelity streaming services like Tidal or Deezer, they do sound quite well, and as spacious as of course wireless earbuds can get, not as spacious of course as headphones, but yeah, they do sound or perform a lot better than they used to. The battery life has significantly improved, and of course the noise cancelling on earbuds has significantly improved, which is a must for a lot of people. A lot of people prefer a better noise cancelling to better sound quality, which I totally get, especially when you're working in a busy environment or sitting at a cafe and you want to work in private, and you don't want to have a very big casket on your head. I do understand the appeal of wireless earbuds. Usually the downside of wireless earbuds are, of course, their battery life. Reason why I'm not talking about the overall hours you can listen to the earbuds, but the overall battery quality. The batteries are very small, and once they die out or once you charge them too much, they cannot or be easily replaced, and usually you have to buy a new pair of earbuds, and that can become quite expensive expensive. Usually with earbuds, they last between 2 and 4 years depending on the price you spend on them. And yeah, it's kind of unfortunate if you've invested like 200 to 300 bucks into a decent pair of wireless earbuds and you have to replace them every like 3 to 4 years, right? So that's my only downside that I'm gonna tell you about wireless earbuds. But yeah, they're definitely a very competitive choice these days in terms of sound staging and in terms of sound quality compared to, of course, the wireless headphones. The third position is reserved for normal headphones, wireless headphones, usually ranging all the way from 20 bucks to 400 bucks. Above 400, I would call them in the class of high fidelity wireless headphones. Some are not, some are. It really depends, of course, on the price you're paying and how much the brand has researched into the development of the acoustics and the driver units and the material that they use. So normal headphones usually are from mainstream brands like JBL, Marshall, GVC, Skullcandy, Sony, and Bose. Don't get offended, ladies and gentlemen. I don't mean any disrespect to these brands. They're great options for those who want decent sound quality, decent battery life, but these headphones mostly focus on noise canceling and not as the most, well, accurate and active and most natural sound reproduction as the high fidelity category of wireless headphones focuses on. So usually they use materials all the way from copper to carbon fiber, and usually are plastically built or have a bit of aluminum, but mostly plastic built, right? So plastic, as you know, is not the most acoustic enhanced type of audio build. So in terms of sound staging, they usually sound very bassy, and they have, well, decent mids, but the highs lack a bit, especially in the higher frequencies. You can kind of notice that the details are very flat and very staticky in higher volumes. Usually the bass is too enhanced, especially on Bose, for example. And yeah, bass heads will love Bose especially, but yeah, they think it's the best brand in the world. It's not anything but yeah, of course, considering the price tag, yeah, these are the wireless options, so the normal wireless options. All right, let's talk about number 4 on the list, and those are wireless high-fidelity headphones from brands like Bang & Olufsen. I have my H4s right here. They had an original retail price of $399 when they were new, and of course I have my PX7S2s, which I recently reviewed, had a retail price of $429. Now, of course, like I said, I categorize the Bose Quiet Comforts Ultra in the class of, you know, well, normal headphones, but I would mention them again in the class of high-end high-fidelity headphones. They're not really high-end, these are not really high-end, but in terms of what overall people are willing to spend on headphones, they're really pushing the boundaries. Of course, Bang & Olufsen, Bowers & Wilkins, many decades of experience with high-end speakers and high-end studio-grade materials and amplifiers and of course turntables and stuff like that. They're really all about design and luxury, especially using, of course, the best materials possible on the outside, great driver technology on the inside. Of course, when we're talking about the build in general, we have premium materials. The overall design is lightweight. They're usually very good at noise canceling, not as good as on, for example, the XM5s or the Sony XM4s or the Quiet Comforts 5. You know, these are targeted to sound quality, while normal wireless headphones are more focused on noise canceling. So I would categorize them like that. So the normal wireless headphone game is more focused on the lifestyle features, so the noise canceling and all that, and the high fidelity wireless audio game is more focused on soundstage and sound quality and giving you something for that hard-earned cash. Now, same thing on with the Dyson OnTrack and the AirPods Max. They are built from very high-end materials like aluminum and stuff like that, and of course steel and you know, the driver units aren't terrible. Listen, I am not a big fan of the AirPods Max and the Dyson OnTrack or Dyson headphones in general, because I think they're quite overpriced for what they are, because for the price you're spending on them, you can easily save up a little bit more and get a real pair of high fidelity pair of headphones or wired pair of headphones that sound 10 times as better, which I will get, of course, into the next category, which is the second best category on the list. But yeah, wireless headphones from, you know, high-end manufacturers Armature usually provide a more interesting and more immersive listening experience than, of course, your normal average headphone. Now moving up to the second best category on the list, which is wired slash wireless combinations, like for example the Bowers & Wilkins PX8s, the Mansion Dynamic MW75s, MW85s, the Dolly IO7s to the Dolly IO12s, of course the Focal Batiste, the Bang & Olufsen H95s and the H100s, of course the Mark Levinson 5909, can't forget about that, and many more on the list. These usually are able to be power driven by a separate DAC or have a DAC built in, like of course on the Focal Batiste. What's a DAC? It's a digital analog converter, which converts digital signals sent from phones, tablets, and laptops from streaming services like Tidal and Deezer and stuff like that, and convert them to analog files without losing, of course, your details and your frequency of those audio files, and which gives you much more detail and, of course, a much more immersive audio experience. Or they use codecs like Dolby Atmos or LDAC or whatever, usually on very high-end headphones as well. They can also be driven through a USB-C type of port from a computer or on a phone or on a tablet right through the headphones, and they will sound, well, more decent than any of the headphones below this class. Yeah, we're entering into the entry-level luxury high fidelity audio equipment. Now, I'm not saying that this is cheap by any means. I mean, for most people, 600 and above to spend on a pair of headphones is bonkers. Most people are not committed or don't want to commit to spending that. They can, but they don't want to because they think it's not worth it. Honestly, from an audiophile and an audio expert and salesperson in general, I do think they are worth it, and I would even spend even more money on a pair of headphones, on a pair of wired headphones, because that's of course the best class. Doesn't matter on which price class we're talking about. But now back to, of course, the second class, these wired combinations. Of course, usually these brands have very high-end driver units. Of course, they're dynamic, usually up to 40 millimeters and up. Frequency response ranging all the way from 10 hertz to 40 kilohertz, like the Dolly IO12s, for example. Beautiful aluminum frame. Of course, we have beautiful driver units and a frequency response from 10 hertz all the way to 40 kilohertz, which is even more than on the Batiste, but of course they cost €1,000, so of course they should have a better frequency response than €800 Batiste. But yeah, even the Batiste have a frequency response from all the way from 15 hertz to 22 kilohertz, which is still great. And of course, yeah, Focal still has a lot of experience in the term of the next category. So yeah, and then of course there are a couple options from Audis with their wireless / wired gaming headsets, which give you that spacious 3D view that you need for shooters and stuff like that. But yeah, there are a lot of high fidelity options that combine the strengths of course wired and wireless. So that's the second best option and the second most expensive, of course, in the world. And now let's move to the best category right now. Alright, now I'm gonna talk about the best category, and unfortunately I don't have them. Yeah, even I still haven't been able to buy a setup like that, and now we're talking about IEMs and of course wired headphones. And no matter what you spend on a wired pair of high fidelity audio equipment, whether you buy IEMs or whether you buy, of course, studio grade headphones, they can range all the way from €40 to 50,000-60,000 euros to the most expensive things. And like I said, they have better driver units and of course materials depending on, of course, the price tags. But acoustic wise, engineering wise, there goes a lot of development into the overall build and feel of the headphone. It's not only luxury for show and not only the best materials for show, but there is a lot of reasoning behind the different types of materials and the different type of engineering when it comes to the driver units. For example, Audio-Technica is a hidden gem in the audio world, used in a lot of studios for its most detailed and most accurate sound representation. They don't break the bank as much as, for example, a pair of Focals or a pair of Audises or a pair of Newmans or Hi-Fi Mans. or golden ears, for example. Audio-Technica can be bought for around 250 to 300, and they are a very decent pair of wired headphones, especially when you run them through a dedicated DAC or amplifier. That will really change and open up those headphones. For example, brands like Bayer Dynamics, still a little bit more on the higher end, of course. Beautiful wired options, especially used in radio stations and stuff like that. Same thing, many decades of experience. Still one of the best studio quality headphones you can buy for the money, period, no matter which Bayer Dynamics you buy. Then of course we have brands like Yamaha, still I wouldn't say great these days in the terms of wired headphones, but decent. Of course, then we're moving up. We have, of course, Hi-Fi Man, Newman, Audis, Focal, ranging all the way from 1,000 euros to 5,000 euros and above. Yeah, of course, they use different type of driver units, whether it be custom dynamic driver units, planar magnetic driver units, of course, or electrostatic driver units. These type of headphones do require a dedicated headphone amplifier. Even the Celesty, their entry-level closed-back headphone from Focal, is well recommended to, of course, buy a separate headphone amplifier or a DAC in order to get that best driver experience or that best driver performance. But yeah, those are basically the most accurate audio equipment you can buy. IEM, same thing. Very small but acoustically engineered to perfection to give you that best live stage access to audio. Usually IEMs also have microphones built in so that the singer can hear their own voice the most natural way as possible to make sure that they don't sing a false note or anything. But yeah, that's the best of the best in the world. No matter on which price tag you sit, you will always get a better experience with wired headphones. Reason why, of course, no latency, usually better driver units, and usually better overall acoustic performances because of the engineering and stuff like that. So ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed the first review video of all the different listening equipment. In the next stage, I will be talking about receivers, amplifiers, and of course DACs, and talk about the different type of speaker setups, whether you go with soundbars or whether you go with a full home cinema, and talk to you about that beautiful world. And that's gonna be also a very long video, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace out. Whoosh.